Chosen ones. Before you take another breath, lean in. Do not look away. Do not dare to skip a single second of what is about to unfold. This is not merely an introduction. This is a threshold, a doorway, a whisper from the unseen that has searched for you through countless twists of destiny. And now, on this very date, it finally reaches you. There are messages that feel ordinary, and there are messages that strike like a revelation. What you're about to hear belongs to the second kind, a call meant only for those whose spirits have been tempered by countless disappointments, yet still refuse to surrender. A call meant for those who have carried their dreams quietly, almost secretly, waiting for the one moment that would justify everything. That moment stands in front of you now. Chosen ones, listen carefully. This video is not entertainment. This is not noise in the background. This is a summons. If you close this video, if you swipe away, if you allow distraction to steal even a fragment of this message, the regret will follow you with a weight you cannot imagine. Because the words that are waiting for you hold the blueprint of the shift you have been longing for, yet doubting would ever come. And if you miss this, you will feel the absence like a stone in your chest. That is not a warning. It is a truth. There is a reason your path led you here. There is a reason your intuition insisted you open this. There is a reason your name is being whispered in places you never applied, in lists you never filled, for blessings you never expected. Before we go deeper, seal your intention. Like this video. Subscribe. Activate the notification bell. And comment 77, a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive this message fully, without resistance, without hesitation. Your engagement is not a formality. It is an energetic declaration. A statement that you are stepping into alignment with what has always been meant for you. Chosen ones. You have been stretched, pressed, bent, humbled, and purified through experiences that others will never understand. Every silent battle, every unseen effort, every tear you hid from the world has been counted. The universe never forgot you. It never overlooked you. It only prepared you. And now it calls you. This is the moment before the veil lifts, the breath before the tide shifts, the stillness before the door opens to what you once believed was too big, too far, or too impossible. Do not underestimate what you are stepping into. Do not minimize the power of what is unfolding. And above all, do not close this message, because what comes next is not simply information. It is activation. It is awakening. It is the recognition of your name by forces you cannot yet see, for abundance you never signed up for, arriving through channels you never expected. Chosen ones, let every part of you stay present. Let no doubt distract you. Let no fear make you hesitate. What is coming is vast. What is coming is precise. What is coming carries your name. Continue watching. Listen with your soul, not your ears. This is the kind of message people spend their lives searching for, but only a few ever find. And you are one of the few. Part 1. When your name is called by a force you cannot see. Chosen ones. There comes a moment in a person's life when something shifts, quietly, subtly, yet powerfully enough that the air around their destiny begins to feel different. You may not have seen the signs clearly. You may not have known what was unfolding behind the curtain of your everyday struggles. But deep inside, beneath all the exhaustion, beneath all the questions, beneath all the doubt, something in you has always known that you were never walking an ordinary path. And now that truth is rising. Part 1 begins with a revelation the human mind cannot fully explain. Your name being spoken in a place you never entered. Your name being written in a list you never filled. Your name being carried by currents you never touched. It is a sign that the invisible realm has moved, shifted, rearranged itself, and angled its attention straight toward you. When the unseen calls your name, it is not a mistake. It is not coincidence. It is not luck. It is recognition. You are being recognized. For every moment you kept going when you wanted to quit. For every silent sacrifice that left no witnesses. For every wound you healed alone. For every hope you kept alive even when logic told you to let it die. This is not about effort alone. It is about endurance. It is about heart. It is about the depth of your spirit that refused to dim even when life tried to suffocate its flame. Chosen ones, understand this. The universe does not call the loudest. It calls the most aligned. And alignment is rarely born from comfort. It is shaped through storms, shaped through losses, shaped through nights when you felt like breaking apart yet somehow held yourself together. You did not harden, you deepened. And it is that depth that has now reached the point where it can finally be answered. In this first part, imagine standing at the edge of something you cannot name, something you cannot predict, yet something that feels undeniably meant for you. There is a pull, not of fear, but of recognition. As if somewhere within you, your future self is whispering, I have been waiting for you to reach this point. When your name is called by an unseen force, it is not calling the version of you that doubted. It is calling the version that survived. The version that grew roots in places where others only saw dust. The version that refused to collapse, even when the weight on your shoulders felt designed to break you. That is the version being chosen. And you may ask, why now? Because preparation always comes before elevation. Because the soil must be broken before anything can sprout. Because your old chapter had to empty itself to make space for what was destined to enter. The calling on your name is a signal, not a small one, not a symbolic one, a real energetic signal that something vast and undeniable has started moving in your direction. It chooses this moment because you are finally in the state to receive what once would have overwhelmed you. This calling is a turning point. It marks the beginning of the unraveling of old limitations. Limitations you accepted because you had no proof that they could be undone. But now, the unseen world gives you that proof by doing something you could never orchestrate on your own, placing your name in a space you never applied to, and aligning you with opportunities that transcend logic. Chosen ones, your journey has always held a quiet brilliance that others overlooked. But the unseen never overlooked you. It watched, it measured, it waited. It protected you from doors that would have drained you and prepared you for the door that would finally elevate you. And now the door stands open, not because you pushed, not because you begged, but because you became. You became someone resilience could trust. You became someone destiny could rely on. You became someone the universe could finally reward. Part 1 is the awakening, the recognition. The moment your existence is acknowledged by forces that have long watched over your growth. Do not underestimate the magnitude of this calling. Do not shrink in false humility. Do not doubt what you feel rising within you now. Your name has been spoken. Your path has been activated. Your destiny has taken its first undeniable step toward you. This is where everything begins. Part 2. The wave that exceeds everything you thought you deserved. Chosen ones. There are moments in life when what arrives does not match what you planned, what you calculated, or what you believed you were capable of receiving. There are moments when the universe does not negotiate with your fears or your doubts. Instead, it delivers something so far beyond your expectations that you are forced to confront a truth you have avoided for far too long. You were always meant for more. Part 2 is where the wave begins. And this is not a gentle wave. This is not a symbolic wave. This is a wave that carries weight, momentum, and magnitude. A wave that enters your life not as a whisper, but as a force that exceeds every target you once set for yourself. It comes not piece by piece, not in fragments, not in hesitant drops, but in a single sweeping motion that leaves you breathless. Imagine standing on the shore of your own destiny. Imagine watching something rise in the distance. Something huge, something luminous, something moving toward you with a certainty that shakes the air around you. You realize, in that instant, that what is coming is bigger than anything you ever dared to include in your plans. It is not proportionate to your requests. It is proportionate to your purpose. This is the wave that surpasses your yearly goals. This is the wave that dismisses your limits. This is the wave that refuses to shrink itself to match your old beliefs. Every target you created was shaped by the version of you who was still learning to trust life. But destiny does not measure you by your fears. It measures you by your capacity, and your capacity is far greater than you have allowed yourself to admit. Chosen ones, hear this deeply. When something comes in one wave, one swift, undeniable, overwhelming wave, it is because the universe wants to make a point. It wants to demonstrate that what held you back all this time was never your potential, but your vision. You asked for enough to survive. The universe prepared enough to transform. You asked for progress. The universe prepared a leap. You asked for something to help you move forward. The universe prepared something to push you into a new reality. This wave carries the imprint of every effort you made in silence. It carries the imprint of every courageous moment when you chose faith over bitterness, perseverance over collapse. Waves like this do not come to the unprepared. They come to those who have proven, through pain, through patience, through persistence, that they are ready to handle elevation without self-destruction. When this wave hits, it does not just change your circumstances. It changes your self-perception. You begin to see yourself not as someone who is trying, but as someone who is chosen. Not as someone who is hoping for things to get better, but as someone whose life is meant to rise dramatically. This shift is not arrogance, it is alignment. When the universe elevates you, humility becomes clarity, not self-doubt. Part 2 is where the magnitude of the blessing reveals itself. Where you realize this is not a coincidence, not a glitch, not a clerical error, not a random moment of luck. This is precision. The precision of something orchestrated. The precision of timing that could never be manufactured. The precision of a destiny that waited for you to reach the energetic maturity required to carry a breakthrough of this size. And the breakthrough does not trickle in, it surges. A wave like this sweeps away the old narratives. That you must struggle endlessly. That progress must be slow. That abundance comes only to others. That you are destined to receive in small portions. This wave dismantles all of that. It enters your life like a declaration. You have completed the stage of scarcity. You are stepping into the era of overflow. Chosen ones, understand how profound this is. You are no longer being asked to chase. You are being asked to stand still and receive. Stand still as the wave rises. Stand still as the wave approaches. Stand still as the wave breaks open your old boundaries. Because part 2 marks the moment when what comes to you is larger than what you once allowed yourself to hope for. It marks the moment when your past no longer dictates your future. It marks the moment when the universe finally speaks in a language you cannot misinterpret. You were meant for abundance. You were meant for expansion. You were meant for more than you ever admitted aloud. This wave is not the end. It is the beginning. Part 3. Why you were chosen when others were not. Chosen ones. There is a question that rises quietly within you as the wave approaches, as the unseen calls your name, as something vast begins to move in your direction. Why me? Why now? Why does the universe place its weight, its attention, and its momentum upon your life, when so many others have walked easier paths, louder paths, or more visible paths? Part 3 exists to answer that question. And the answer is not simple because you are not simple. You were not chosen because you were the strongest. You were not chosen because you always knew what you were doing. You were not chosen because you walked with confidence every step of the way. You were chosen because you continued. You were chosen because you endured. You were chosen because you refused to collapse into bitterness, even when your world gave you every reason to stop believing. Chosen ones, the universe recognizes persistence far more than perfection, and your persistence is the reason your name rises now. Others quit when the journey turned quiet. Others gave up when applause stopped. Others surrendered when effort no longer brought instant results. But you kept going. You kept pushing through seasons where nothing made sense. You kept believing in the unseen even when the visible world seemed to contradict every hope in your heart. You kept your inner fire alive with nothing but memory, faith, and resilience, and the universe does not overlook that. There are people who shine when watched, but you shone when no one was watching. That is why you were chosen. Your path has been shaped by battles no one knew you fought. You carried weights in silence. You learned how to walk with wounds that others never even saw. You rebuilt yourself more times than you have ever admitted. You rose after disappointments that would have ended someone else's spirit entirely. And each time you rose, something in the unseen world took note. Part 3 reveals a truth you may have felt but never fully understood. Your suffering was not wasted. Your delay was not punishment. Your quiet years were not empty. They were preparing the version of you that destiny needed. Not the version that was afraid. Not the version that felt small. Not the version that apologized for existing. But the version that could receive without collapsing, hold without trembling, and grow without shrinking. This is why you were chosen. Because you proved through trials, through heartbreak, through long nights of questioning, that your spirit would not break under pressure. Instead, pressure refined you. It carved channels inside you where wisdom could flow. It burned away illusions. It stripped you of ego. It sharpened your intuition. It sculpted a soul capable of carrying abundance without losing itself. The universe never selects impulsively. It selects intentionally. It selects those who can withstand both the silence before the blessing and the responsibility after it. Chosen ones, you are entering a chapter where your past does not disqualify you. It authenticates you. Your past is the signature that proves you can handle what is coming. Every hardship taught you strength. Every delay taught you patience. Every disappointment taught you discernment. You are not chosen because you were perfect. You are chosen because you were transformed. And there is more. You were chosen because you understand lack, but you never embraced it as identity. You were chosen because you tasted loneliness, but you never allowed it to poison your compassion. You were chosen because you walked through darkness, but you never extinguished your own light. In a world full of people seeking shortcuts, you learned endurance. In a world full of people craving validation, you learned self-trust. In a world full of people demanding guarantees, you learned surrender. This is why the unseen places your name in positions you never applied for. This is why opportunities start bending toward you. This is why the wave approaches with such force, because you are finally aligned with the magnitude of your own destiny. Your life is shifting not because you asked loudest, but because you rose longest. You withstood storms that broke others. You carried burdens that no one acknowledged. You held on to hope when hope had no evidence. That kind of soul is not common. That kind of soul is not overlooked. That kind of soul is not denied. Part 3 is the revelation of worthiness. Not the shallow worthiness that depends on external approval, but the deep, bone-level worthiness forged through survival, courage, and unwavering resilience. You were chosen because you are ready. And you are ready because you have lived through everything that prepared you. The universe does not make mistakes, and it did not make one when it chose you. Part 4. The final pressure before your rise. Chosen ones. There is a peculiar heaviness that often settles over your life right before a major breakthrough. A tightening in the atmosphere, a sense that something is closing in even when you cannot name it. A weight on your chest that feels too deliberate to be random, too sharp to be coincidence, too purposeful to be dismissed. And yet, you wonder why the pressure intensifies just when you thought your spirit could not carry anymore. Part 4 is where you understand the truth. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. Right before destiny shifts, life often applies one final test, one final stretching, one final stripping, one final moment where your patience, your courage, and your inner strength are pushed into unfamiliar territory. Not because the universe wants to break you, but because it wants to prepare you for what is about to be placed in your hands. Chosen ones. Pressure is the signature of transformation. Think about what fire does to metal. Think about what silence does to intuition. Think about what darkness does to sight. In the same way, the pressure you felt was designed to sharpen you, not destroy you. It was meant to reveal what within you was weak, so it could be strengthened, and what within you was strong, so it could be amplified. Right before elevation, the ground beneath you feels unstable. Not because you are falling, but because you are being lifted. Many people mistake this sensation for collapse. They assume their life is unraveling when in truth it is rearranging itself. They panic when doors close, not realizing that closed doors are part of the architecture of redirection. They feel abandoned when in reality they are being isolated so their next chapter cannot be contaminated by old patterns. But you, chosen one, you stayed long enough to see through the illusion. You did not run when the pressure increased. You did not surrender when clarity disappeared. You did not collapse when old foundations dissolved beneath your feet. That is why this moment belongs to you. You lived through the season where answers were withheld. You lived through the season when nothing moved forward. You lived through the season where the silence felt endless. And that silence was not emptiness. It was calibration. It was alignment. It was the universe adjusting the frequency of your life so that everything meant for you could meet you without resistance. Part 4 reveals another truth. Your old life had to feel tight so your new life could feel expansive. The discomfort you felt was the universe pushing you out of a space that could no longer contain your growth. The frustration you carried was the friction of your old identity, rubbing against the emerging version of you. The fatigue you felt was the shedding of past energies that were never meant to follow you into your next chapter. Chosen ones, hear this deeply. The pressure was evidence that your breakthrough was already in motion. Right before something magnificent enters your life, the universe often forces you to release anything that cannot survive the elevation. This is why relationships felt strained, opportunities faded, routines broke, and your emotional world felt unpredictable. It was not chaos, it was cleansing. The universe cannot pour abundance into hands that are already holding debris. So it emptied you. It uncluttered you. It cleared out what you clung to only because you feared emptiness. What you perceived as loss was actually space being created. And in that space, your blessing is gathering momentum. This is why Part 4 matters. It marks the final threshold, the last contraction before expansion, the last darkness before illumination, the last pressure before release. You are not being crushed, you are being shaped. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are not losing control, you are being aligned. Every force that pressed against you was guiding you toward the very moment when everything begins to make sense. The pressure was not a sign of failure, it was the signal that your rise was near. Chosen ones, understand this with absolute certainty. The intensity you felt was the final assurance that what is coming is extraordinary. Your breakthrough required a stronger version of you. And now that version has emerged. This is the part where you step into the unfolding of everything you were prepared for. Part 5. The moment the unseen becomes real. Chosen ones. There comes a point in every transformation when the invisible becomes visible. When what once felt distant suddenly stands before you, undeniable and real. Part 5 is that moment. It is the collision between destiny and physical reality. The instant where what was once only felt in your spirit appears in front of your eyes with clarity that leaves you breathless. For so long, you carried hope without evidence. For so long, you moved forward without guarantees. For so long, you believed quietly, privately, while the world around you questioned whether anything would ever change. But now the moment has arrived when your belief is no longer something you hold in your heart. It is something you can see, something you can touch, something you can confirm with your own senses. This is the moment you look at your life and whisper to yourself, "It's happening." Imagine standing before a screen, a message, a notification, a document, something simple, yet world-altering, and seeing a number that it does not match your past limitations, a number that does not belong to your old life, a number that surpasses everything you once thought possible, a number that reflects the magnitude of your inner transformation. At first you doubt your own eyes. You read it again. You pause. You hold your breath. You check once more as if the universe might change its mind. But it does not change, because it is yours. Chosen ones, this moment is not random. It is not accidental. It is not luck disguised as opportunity. This moment is the physical manifestation of a divine alignment, that has been building behind the scenes for far longer than you realized. Every tear you shed, every setback you endured, every sacrifice you made was a thread woven into the fabric of this breakthrough. And now you stand before the evidence that none of it was wasted. The magnitude of what enters your life shocks you, not because you are unworthy, but because you have lived so long in survival mode that receiving abundance feels unfamiliar. You are conditioned to expect just enough, and now the universe gives you overflow. You are conditioned to prepare for disappointment, and now the universe hands you fulfillment. This is why the moment feels surreal, because it challenges your old internal narrative, because it rewrites your identity in an instant, because it forces you to confront a reality you once believed was reserved for others. But the universe does not send gifts that do not belong to you. It sends confirmation. Confirmation that your resilience was not invisible. Confirmation that your patience was not forgotten. Confirmation that your silent endurance was not ignored. This is the moment where life whispers, "You were right to believe." And while the number you see, the amount, the magnitude, the confirmation, may shock you, understand that it is only the beginning. Because this moment is not about the number itself. It is about the shift it represents. It represents the end of scarcity thinking. It represents the end of survival mode living. It represents the end of doubting your worthiness. You are stepping into a new frequency, a frequency where receiving is natural, where abundance is expected, where blessings flow without resistance. This is not a random peak in your life. This is a new pattern being established. When the unseen becomes real, your inner world and outer world finally match. Your beliefs align with your circumstances. Your hope aligns with your experience. Your identity aligns with your destiny. Part 5 marks the moment when everything clicks into place, where the years of internal growth converge into a single moment of external validation, where the universe shows its hand and reveals that it has been working in your favor all along. Chosen ones, take this moment in. Let it soften you. Let it strengthen you. Let it awaken parts of you that have been asleep under the weight of old pain. This moment is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to anchor you. Anchor you into certainty. Anchor you into expansion. Anchor you into the truth that abundance is not a miracle. It is your inheritance. You are not receiving this because of chance. You are receiving this because you have become the version of yourself who can hold it. Part 5 is the unveiling, the revelation, the proof that the universe has finally said, now. Part 6, the power of silence when your blessing arrives. Chosen ones, there is a sacred moment after the breakthrough, after the confirmation, after the unseen has finally become real. A moment where the universe watches not what you receive, but how you hold it. Part 6 is the stillness that follows the surge, the quiet breath after the wave, the deep pause where your spirit adjusts to the weight and wonder of what has entered your life. And in this moment, silence becomes your greatest ally. When something massive arrives, when a blessing surpasses your expectations, when a number exceeds your former limits, when a door opens that you never even knocked on, your instinct may be to shout it, share it, tell the world what has happened. But the universe urges you instead to be still, to listen inward, to guard what has been placed in your hands. Not every blessing is meant to be spoken aloud. Not every miracle is meant to be shared. Not every breakthrough should be exposed to the eyes of those who cannot understand its magnitude. Silence is not secrecy. Silence is protection. Chosen ones, understand this truth deeply. What comes into your life now is not ordinary. It is not fragile, but it is sacred. It requires time to settle into your spirit, time to reshape your identity, time to integrate into the deeper parts of who you are. If you reveal it too soon, you risk letting doubt, jealousy, projection, or misunderstanding contaminate what is meant to elevate you. You are stepping into a reality that very few around you have the capacity to comprehend. They did not witness your private battles. They did not feel your internal storms. They did not walk barefoot through the fire to become who you are now. They cannot understand the price you paid for this moment, so they cannot be trusted with the fullness of your blessing. Silence allows your spirit to grow into the size of what you have received. Silence allows clarity to form before you take your next steps. Silence allows the blessing to root before it expands. This is why the universe often aligns breakthroughs with isolation, not loneliness, isolation. The kind of separation that feels intentional, purposeful, almost surgical. The kind that clears your atmosphere so new energy can take shape without interference. The kind that sets you apart, not because you're forgotten, but because you are being prepared for a higher assignment. In this stage, you will notice a profound shift happening inside you. You no longer crave validation from others. You no longer seek approval for your decisions. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. Your blessing has already validated what your spirit always knew. Silence also gives you a chance to observe. Who feels your shift without you saying a word? Who grows uneasy as your spirit rises? Who becomes distant as your energy expands? Who celebrates you without knowing why? Pay attention. The blessing reveals people as clearly as it reveals your future. Chosen ones, this silence is not emptiness. It is alignment. It is the universe tuning the frequency of your environment to match the elevation of your destiny. Too much noise would distort the signal. Too many voices would dilute your direction. This is the chapter where your discernment is sharpened, where you learn not everyone deserves access to your transformation, where you realize that privacy is not fear, it is wisdom. Silence is where seeds germinate. Silence is where direction becomes clear. Silence is where abundance becomes sustainable. And within this silence, something else begins to awaken. A new sense of identity. No longer the version of you who hoped quietly. No longer the version of you who feared disappointment. No longer the version of you who lived with scarcity as a shadow. Now you become the version of you who receives with confidence. The version who moves with intention. The version who carries abundance without apology. You do not owe explanations for your blessing. You do not owe access to your breakthrough. You do not owe your past self any loyalty. This silence is your cocoon, your transformation chamber, your sacred reset. Part 6 is where you learn that abundance is not just about what you receive, it is about who you become after receiving it. And who you are becoming now requires grounding, clarity, discernment, and stillness. Let silence teach you your new strength. Let silence prepare you for greater expansion. Let silence protect what is still taking shape. Your blessing has arrived. Now let your spirit rise to meet it. Part 7. The dawn of your new destiny. Chosen ones. There comes a moment after the calling, after the wave, after the pressure, after the confirmation, and after the sacred silence when your spirit finally lifts its head and realizes nothing will ever be the same again. Part 7 is that realization, the unveiling of a future that once felt unreachable, a future that now recognizes your name as its rightful owner. This is the dawn of your new destiny, not the destiny you once hoped for timidly, quietly, cautiously, but the destiny that has been waiting patiently, powerfully, relentlessly for you to grow into it. The destiny shaped through endurance, carved through struggle, refined through silence. You stand now at the threshold of a life that no longer mirrors the version of you who survived. It mirrors the version of you who is meant to expand, lead, receive, and rise. The universe has removed the weight of old limitations, and what is left is a path that glows with possibility that stretches far beyond anything you once imagined. Chosen ones understand this fully. You are not stepping into a season. You are stepping into an identity. The identity of someone who no longer begs the world for space, but commands space through presence. The identity of someone who no longer questions their worth, but builds upon it with certainty. The identity of someone who no longer waits for permission, but follows the pull of their soul with unwavering trust. Your past chapters were about survival, learning endurance, patience, resilience. This chapter is about expansion, learning trust, abundance, and sovereignty. The breakthrough you received, the blessing that arrived in one overwhelming wave, was not simply an event. It was a declaration, a stamp, a spiritual announcement that your destiny has shifted course. What once flowed slowly will now accelerate. What once felt distant will now draw near. What once seemed impossible will now bend in your direction. This is the moment when everything inside you widens. Your vision, your capacity, your belief in what is possible. The universe did not elevate you to leave you standing still. It elevated you to move you into the flow of something larger, something purposeful, something ordained long before you learned to doubt yourself. Your new reality requires a new rhythm, one of confidence, alignment, and intention. In this chapter, opportunities will not arrive quietly. They will arrive boldly. Doors will not open slowly. They will swing wide. Blessings will not drip in. They will pour. And you will not chase any of it, because what belongs to you now recognizes you instantly. Chosen ones. Part 7 is also the moment you understand why the journey was long, why the silence was heavy, why the pressure was sharp. Every step, every delay, every unanswered question was preparing the architecture of your new life. Not one moment was wasted, not one tear was unnecessary, not one setback was meaningless. You were being shaped for a destiny that required a deeper version of you, a wiser version, a stronger version, a more discerning version. And now that version stands fully awakened. This dawn marks the beginning of a life where abundance is not an exception, but a pattern, where breakthroughs are not rare, but expected, where your name does not appear on lists by accident, but by alignment. You have crossed the invisible threshold. You have entered the realm of the chosen. Not because fate favored you randomly, but because you rose higher than your storms. Part 7 is your initiation into a future that no longer intimidates you. A future you finally feel worthy of. A future that carries your name with reverence. Chosen ones, walk forward now. Not with hesitation, but with purpose. Not with fear, but with certainty. Not with the shadows of your past, but with the power of your new becoming. Your destiny has opened. Your abundance has awakened. Your new life has begun. Closing. The moment you step into who you were always meant to be. Chosen ones. As this message comes to its final breath, feel the gravity of what has unfolded within you. This was never just a sequence of words, never just a story, never just a message meant to motivate you for a fleeting moment. This was an awakening, a recognition, a calling delivered to the depths of your spirit with precision so unmistakable that a part of you, perhaps a quiet part, now knows there is no returning to who you were before this. You have crossed a threshold. You have stepped into a new frequency. You have entered a destiny that has been circling your life like a silent guardian, waiting for the exact moment to introduce itself. This is that moment. The old version of you spent years navigating storms, disappointments, pressures, delays, and trials that felt unfair, heavy, and relentless. Yet, without realizing it, you were being shaped into someone capable of carrying what others would collapse under. You were being trained silently for a life that does not belong to the ordinary, the untested, or the faint-hearted. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are chosen. And now you stand on the edge of a horizon you once believed was too distant to reach. You stand before a future that carries your name with intention. You stand inside a moment when every struggle behind you aligns perfectly with the blessing in front of you. This closing is not the end of the message. It is the beginning of your becoming. Let the truth settle into your bones. The universe did not call you by accident. It did not place your name in unseen lists without purpose. It did not send waves of abundance without calculation. It did not pressure you without reason. It did not reveal your blessing without direction. It did not silence you without preparing the next chapter. Every step, every ache, every unanswered prayer, every closed door was part of a script written for your elevation. And now the script turns its page. Chosen ones, destiny has finally caught up to you. From this moment on, life will feel different, not because circumstances magically transform without effort, but because you are no longer the same person navigating them. You have expanded, you have deepened, you have anchored yourself in a frequency where abundance is not surprising, where calling is not denied, where breakthroughs are not questioned. You are stepping into a chapter where the unseen works in your favor. The impossible becomes reachable. The delayed becomes aligned. The silence becomes guidance. The pressure becomes power. The blessing becomes identity. You are no longer waiting for your life to shift. Your life is waiting for you to rise. Walk into this new reality as if every force in the universe is supporting you, because it is. Walk with the certainty of someone appointed, not just lucky. Walk with the grace of someone refined by fire, not crushed by it. Walk with the confidence of someone whose name is now written in spaces that once felt unreachable. What comes next is not chance. What comes next is alignment. What comes next is yours. Chosen ones, embrace this new beginning. Let your spirit stretch without fear. Let your capacity grow without apology. Let your destiny unfold without hesitation. Your time has arrived. Your calling has activated. Your abundance has awakened. Your new life has opened. Step forward now, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be.